brotherhood, loyalty, and the bonds that build men. In this special episode, I'll be sitting with my longtime friend and co-host, Banky W, and creative consultant and music executive, Alexander Ikemefuna, to unpack friendships, the joys, the distance, and the silent love between men. As always, you're welcome to Mentality with Ebuka. I always say this is not an interview, it's not a panel. It's just a conversation with men having an open, honest talk. And Alex is here. And we're going to be talking men and friendships, or masculinity and friendships. And something tells me Alex is going to be asking a lot of questions today. Am I right or am I right? What do you want to know? Because I want to kind of defer to you because, as most people know, Banky and I have been friends for
a long time.
Almost 2 decades now.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
When you say it like that, what am I still doing with you?
You've been friends for that long, so
yeah,
maybe it's fair enough to just defer to, if you have any questions, let's start with.
And also feel free to share from your own.
Yes, of course, we're still going to. Hello?
Yes.
Of course, we're going to be doing that.
It's okay. I'm used to both of you now.
So, yeah.
That's pretty easy. And then, I mean, of course, the key thing you said is masculinity and friendship. We would be remiss if we didn't have two people like you to lead such an experience or conversation. Obviously, because not just about how long you guys have been friends, but obviously the ups and downs that has gone on in that relationship. But my first question is, how long? Really? How long exactly
Has
you guys been friends?
Let me get a drink.
How long exactly?
I don't remember the exact amount of time, but I would say almost 2 decades. I don't remember the exact, if it was 18 years or when did I come back to Nigeria permanently? 2007, 2008. So I would say pretty much from when I came back. So I'd say maybe 2008 is when.
So you know I like your question because I think I know what you're trying to get at. And I don't know if that's what you're trying to get at, but when Banky and I first met.
Oh, we're gonna go there. Let's go. I'm ready. Okay, somebody understood the question.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
The feeling was mutual. Let me start with that.
Yes, okay. Yes.
But I don't think we liked each other.
No, we did not.
Yeah.
No, we did not.
And I don't know what it was for him.
What was it for you?
For me, I was this new guy in media, then Afrobeats was still bubbling under, but there was a rise happening. And then we started having all these Yankee boys coming back, trying to feel like, we know better than you people.
Like Banky.
Like Banky.
Yeah. First of all, carry on.
And I used to host a show at the time, an interview show with a major network, telecoms network, and he came for the interview at a studio that are one of our mutual friends now as well, Olamide Adedeji. Not the artist. Of
course. Yes, the other Olamide Adedeji.
My friend. Sound City at the time.
That's so funny because...
Yes, that's why I said both name and surname is the same. Yeah. And he just comes, he still had a Yankee phone. I said, who be this one? With his beard. Your beard was razor thin.
Oh, yes.
At the time. Yes. So it wasn't anything he did to me. But I guess it's also part of what we're going to be talking about today, where you see someone and judge just based on perception, what you see, how you think the person thinks just because of the little you know about them. So at the time, it was more a case of judging a book by its cover and not caring to sort of peel off the layers of who this guy really is. It didn't last for a very long time, interestingly.
Yeah.
But it was a short, who does he think he is? Which I found out later was almost mutual at the time.
Yeah, no, for me, it was actually the mirror or almost an exact reflection of what he said, in the sense that when you're coming in from, Yankee or wherever, you're coming back into town, there's always this resistance that you come up against where people are like, you're not really from here, or, there's this kind of attitude adjustment that you face. And when you meet people who are here, like him, I felt like this guy is very arrogant.
I still get that one generally.
Like he's just very arrogant. He just carries himself with an air that he thinks is better than everybody.
Yeah.
See, okay, so there you go.
Okay.
But you learn to love them anyway, as they are.
Yeah.
But no, I came in that was the air that I got around him. So I didn't really like him, right off the bat. But like you said, it didn't take too long.
Okay. I think it helped that we had a mutual friend.
We had a few friends in common who kind of
bringing us together.
Brought us together, and then it just became kind of like a crew thing. And then, the more time you spend with someone, the more time you spend around someone, the more time someone has more of your attention, the more your affection will grow. And so I grew to, I guess we both grew to love each other and appreciate each other. And, now I'm, every once in a while I write like a glowing review of him on social media, because that's genuinely how I feel about him. He's not just a brother and a friend. I'm also a fan of who he is and what he represents and what he's been able to do. So, so thank God for growth.
Yeah. And I find that a lot of guys, I don't know if it's a lot of, we're talking about men here, so let's keep it at that, also sort of have that arc. Sometimes where you see someone, and you make your judgments based off of either how they've acted in that moment or how they've presented themselves. And that's who you think they are.
Yeah.
But then you have conversations and you start seeing what the values are, or what, this person's headspace is at.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts to change your perspective. And I don't know if it's an age thing, because I don't think I'm that way anymore. We're talking 20s.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically, early mid-20s even. So, but today, I don't know that I just see someone, I'm like, because I realize now that there's more to people than they present. But I don't know what your perspective on. Well, have you always been the kind of guy who, and another thing I just wanted to point out, for a lot of my close friends today, which is very interesting, and I don't know what your perspective is on that, a lot of my close friends today, I actually went to introduce myself to them.
Really?
Yeah.
You believe him?
Do I believe him? I don't think he'll tell a lie.
Olamide, Vincenzo. If I see you, and I'm just like, okay. Olamide's one was very interesting. We used to hang out at the same bar every week, Sway Bar. And he always looked lonely by the bar. And he would just sit there, drink his beer and walk away. I think by the third time, I was like, come and join us. Okay. And that was really it. So I've never been threatened that much, where it's like, I'm sure I would have still talked to you eventually.
Right.
Yeah.
I think with me, I guess it depends on, mine has been very different. So for you and I, we became friends being in the same circle. For Tunde and I, we go back to when we were 12, 13 years old in secondary school. And ironically, first, we didn't really like each other when we first met, in JS1. But then, we were the rebels that wore the wrong kind of sandals to school. So they used to seize our sandals together. So every time that we would wear the wrong shoes, they would seize our sandals. So they would call us to the principal's office and we'd be walking and we'd have like a pair of slippers because we know they're going to seize our shoes, but we were very stubborn. And ironically, something as simple and random as that was where the friendship was birthed. And here we are, 30 years later?
Okay, and so what I get from this mainly is that at some point the pack sort of helped your bond.
Well, at least in this case,
yes, absolutely. In this case, the pack sort of helped your bond grow in terms of pace, in terms of maybe genuine relationships. Mm-hmm. So it brings me to one quick question, if I may. So your pack. What were the leading factors? For example, how much of an ego, how much did an ego or individual egos play in your relationship? So were there some times when you felt Banky shouldn't have led a conversation. But there's some babes you guys argued over, and then you know what happened? Who was the toughest? Who had the goat head? That said, okay, you know what? Let's not call this man today. So, what kept it?
There's this thing. I'll go first this time. There's this thing called the bro code, right? Which maybe we can get into that a little bit if you want. But the bro code, I guess, depending on who you are talking to, can have different connotations and different meanings. But amongst us, it really speaks to, you know, kind of loyalty, respect, dignity, the way you treat each other and all of that. And I think that for the most part, in the pack that we're discussing, that was always the case. So Tony and I, for instance, had times, you know, many, many years ago, we're both very married and happy. But many years ago, when we were starting out and just kind of interacting and dating and all of that, when we came into a situation where we both had eyes on a certain person, we'd look at the girl and have a discussion and say, now you or not me? Or, you know, which one does it seem like the girl is more interested in? And we would just...
So you don't both lose out.
So, yeah. So we would just have those
So you would let go?
Oh, yeah.
Like so even if you liked the girl and she said she liked...
Yeah, but I mean, that was also a time when, you know, relationships were very fleeting and casual. So there was not... It was never really that deep. So our relationship with each other was much more important than any person who we happened to meet at a party or anything like that. And so we were able to navigate those spaces by just being able to check in with each other and say, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? Do you like this girl? Do I like this girl? Who likes her more or who does she like more? Yeah. And so we never had, and really amongst any of my circle of close friends, we've never had an issue where there's like a woman matter and, you know, both guys like the same girl and they're fighting over it. That has never been an issue.
Ebuka, how far?
So you think it's been an issue for
there's his own. How about
So here's the thing. Okay, so yeah, there's a bunch of us. And it's not even that many. It's like 4 or 5 people in this group. I also have one or two of my very good friends as well in Abuja because I grew up there for a long time. And I don't know that I've had a situation where things like that have become an issue, which is why I mentioned we became close because the values started aligning, you know. And I don't know that a lot of people use the word friend loosely. If we get to the point where I call you a friend, of course, we understand each other to a certain extent. Now, with this pack, I'm going to be very honest. For a long time in our friendship, we're very loyal. We talked virtually every day, had conversations, whether it was BBM group at the time or WhatsApp groups later. But I don't know that we went deep at the start of our friendship. And when things started getting deep, some people fell off. So that's when you realize, are you actually friends? You know, when it now comes to having those hard conversations that a lot of guys don't like to have. We got to the point where certain hard conversations had to happen. And interventions were done, conversations were had, roundtables were had where he said, okay, yo, what's going on? And when that happened, the dynamics shifted in a way that those who sort of didn't stand that rockiness, it doesn't mean that we became enemies or anything, but you now understood where maybe your actual loyalties lied in that circumstance. Happened the same thing as well with me. And I have three solid friends in Abuja, childhood friends and all. Also came to a situation where certain things happened and you realize maybe one person became threatened by your success or by how your life trajectory started going, you know. You're still cool, but then you realize, okay, maybe this is not the person to go to with certain things. I don't know what that says now about how friendships are formed. Does it always have to be long-term for you to cross those boundaries? Secondly, do men leave these things too late? Do we not get deep early enough to realize where we should actually be in our friends' dynamics? Or do you just let things take their course, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, that's an interesting question. I feel like men, you may be right in the sense that men don't get too deep too quickly. So there are some friends that we have and that I have that are just, it's very surface level. We see each other, we greet each other when we see, maybe it's like our football group.
There's some guys you see every day, but that's it.
You know, we,
Baba.
yeah, you know, and you know the craziest thing, if those two men who are not that close friends see each other in a social setting, they will hug
Like,
bro.
I didn't know you guys were that close. Okay.
You know,
and sometimes they don't even know each other's names.
and they're just like, bro,
Ogami.
yes,
Chairman.
but then I think that there's a difference in a man's mind, and we're able to compartmentalize like that. That there's a difference between having a lot of acquaintances and people that you are cool with, and then having a circle of people or a smaller group of people who you consider closer. And I don't think that it's necessarily such a problem that it doesn't get too deep too quickly, because I think you kind of need time to just let people be who they are and for you to even really understand who you are and what you're comfortable with. And so you do get to those points where the conversation becomes deeper, and then you start to realize that some friendships are for a season. And if that season comes to an end and you're not able to be as tight as you once were, are you still able to be respectful, be cordial, be cool, but not necessarily as tight as you were? It's kind of like scaffolding, right? The scaffolding, when you're doing the construction of a building, at certain points it's so close together that you can't get between the scaffolding and the building, but it gets to a point in that building's construction that the scaffolding goes away. And you have to be able to say, you know, I'm happy when they were
let's
here,
look at the building.
you know, and now that you're not aligned like that anymore, you're still okay with that. And even with the people that you are close with, you will have seasons where you are tighter than others. At least that's been my experience. So we may not talk every day. We may not see every day, but there's a certain space that you honor in your heart for certain people. And there'll be seasons where you spend a lot more time together, and there'll be seasons where you won't, and where you try to learn to navigate that. Some guys don't deal with that as well, I think. I think one thing that happens in a man's life, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is when you find the woman that you want to spend the rest of your life with, it's interesting the dynamics that then come in with your friendships. Because a lot of times you either hear that the guy chooses his friends over his wife, or chooses his wife over his friends. And either of those extremes results in some change and some level of resentment. So it's really about trying to find the balance where you don't lose the friends that are closest to you, but you still are able to, you know, build this partnership and this life with this woman who, you know, who God has blessed you with.
Ebuka, if I can ask you directly, based off of what Banky just said, have you guys in your, and I use your relationship in your friends' space, the 4, 5, 6 of you as men, as especially masculine men, have you had situations like Banky has said where you've needed or tried or been in a position where your wife or your partner says, I don't think I want that person to come to the house, or I don't think I'm so uncomfortable with that relationship? I mean, obviously, that may or may not have happened, but have you been in that situation where that happened, and what did you do?
Straight answer, no.
Okay.
My wife is very respectful of my choices and the people she's met me be friends with. She may have her opinions of these friends, but she's never one to say, I don't want to see this person here, or, you know, sort of try to make me sort of come out of a friendship because of how she feels about them. She might give me advice and be like, oh, this is interesting. You might want to look at this again, but it's up to you. But I think maybe it's a good thing that my wife likes my friends. So it helps, it makes it easier for it not to have ever come up. But has she had opinions on things that have happened or certain situations? I mean, it's only natural. I've had opinions about her friends as well, but I'm also not going to tell her that girl should not come unless the person has done something really grave. But I don't think it's ever happened in my space where, she's drawn a hard line.
Okay.
She's very protective of me, and I'm sure that if she got there, she would definitely have said something. And I've never had that experience. So I guess maybe it helps that my friends present as good guys.
As good guys. Present.
At least.
Present is a good word. Oh, okay.
My friends are. So, at least in this case.
Okay. If you insist.
Have you had a girl who's told you about your friends, about not being friends with certain people? And has that broken the relationship?
No.
Okay.
Sort of the same situation. I've had a girl who's had an opinion about what that person does or how they do it, or how they frolic and all those kind of situations. So I've had that, but obviously what I've done is obviously protect that person and say, look, listen, this is possibly why, or you're wrong. The notion you have of that individual is different. So yeah, I've been in that situation once or twice, and it's always the same answer. So it's an opinion you have. I will try my best to tell you that this is the way they present themselves, and it is safe. It's safer. You have a wrong impression or misguided opinion.
Yeah.
On what they are or what they do.
Yeah.
I
was just trying to think of any. I can't think of any.
Yeah, for Madame and I, we don't actually have a lot of people over to the house anyway.
Yeah.
So, in the
enough
spaces,
to ban them.
Yeah, in the spaces that we're in, you're living a public life. You're always surrounded by people. When you're out, it's an event or a show or.
So home is
like a safe space that you don't really want a lot of noise around, and so you don't really. In general, we don't have a lot of people over to the house. Like at the point that you're coming to the house, you've kind of crossed certain boundaries into this, and that's not to say everybody who hasn't been to our house are not people that we love or that we would invite. It just hasn't happened. But I don't think that we have enough people over to there are some people who host people all the time, right? Who have all kinds of people stopping over. We're just not that kind of couple. Like we like the sanctity of our home, the peace of our home, the safe space that it is. So that situation really wouldn't present itself the way that we carry ourselves naturally. So
okay. I want to throw something out in reference to what you just said, Banky. So with respect to that, what do you is there a time in this friendship that you've had cause to be vulnerable? What I mean by that is even as you protect yourself at home with your wife in your space, have you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 occasions where you needed to speak to another man who is your friend because you assumed he would sort of relate?
You're asking the right person, actually, because
why? Why? Are you not also?
I'm actually asking both of you.
No, just let him answer.
You cannot.
Let me answer that. No, I will answer. Okay. But I had an opinion on his answer.
On his answer.
You have an opinion on the answer that
I already have an opinion.
Have I had a time where I felt that I needed to be vulnerable? Absolutely. I think that it's not the easiest thing for a man to be vulnerable, but a man always needs at least 1 or 2 or however many people that you can be that level of vulnerable with. So for me, for instance, most people know that Tunde and I have been friends since, before we were teenagers, right? We've been through all kinds of things together. And then by extension, it then became Shegun and the rest of the guys. But I think invariably when I've had times in my life where I'm really dealing with like life's challenges, when I've had health challenges, when I've had times when I was really broke, when I've had times when I'm really going through it, it helps to have those guys there that you can be like, Omo, my eye they red. You understand? So yeah, I mean, I think those times have come, and I think every guy, if you don't have one, you need one, because otherwise you just end up being this pent up, pressurized container that at some point will blow. So.
Ebuka.
Well, what's your opinion? What's your opinion on my answer?
I was going to say, Banky for me is actually the example of a guy who can be vulnerable to his friends. And I don't know that I'm even there, where he's able to just say, yo, this just happened. Just wanted you guys to know. And it could be anything, right? Whether it's business, something at the airport, whatever it is. And he's able to just share with friends. And I grew up, I don't know if it's a personality thing or because I grew up, my siblings and I are very far apart. My brother is 5 years older than me. I'm 12 years older than my younger brother. So by the time I was coming into my own, he was away in boarding school already. By the time I was away in boarding school, my younger brother was born. So I always learned to sort of be in my space. And a lot of my friends actually say to me, like you, that I have a wall. And it's something I'm trying to crack. And the wall is not necessarily about being vulnerable to friends. It's just being vulnerable generally. And there are certain things you say or do sometimes like, I wish I could, just, and not worry about what the response would be or the judgment would be. Marriage has helped me a lot in that aspect. Even with my wife, initially for a while, I used to feel like I still had to go through things on my own. But by the time she drew my ear like this, I was like, that is literally what I'm here for, for us to have this conversation.
It's funny, now that you say that, I remember there was an incident, there was a challenge that I had gone through. And it was only when I shared it with you
that you
are now saying, oh,
actually, this
happened to me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh man, I didn't even know. And this is supposed to be my guy, but he didn't even say it. And I think that is probably why, for me, like when he asked me to come and be on this show with him, I thought it was so important because I think in this world that we create where we build these walls and we just don't share these things, sometimes just knowing that somebody else
is going through the same thing,
suffered the same issue or has dealt with the same problem, or has been dealt that same pain, that alone is healing. Is just to be able to be like, man, my guy also went through this and I'm going through it and we're going to be okay.
I want to know your response to that. But before that, I want to share it because, I did some polls, like I said. And I said, do you share your personal problems with your guys? This was to men. Got over 40,000 responses.
Wow.
How many percent do you think say, yes, I always do? Ballpark number.
40.
I think 40 is a safe number.
That they always share?
Yeah.
5%.
So what?
Wow.
5?
Yes. 5% said, yes, I always do. 25% said, never. That's too vulnerable. Then the huge majority said, only when I absolutely have to.
Well, see, you didn't give us that breakdown.
But the thing is,
you didn't give us that breakdown. I need the breakdown.
No, absolutely have to said, because I put something in brackets. Sometimes when I absolutely have to, and there's no other option.
Okay.
So that's like a last resort.
Okay.
So for me, is that really you opening up? You've tried everything, and you're like, okay, now I have to come here. Which is what I think a lot of us are guilty of.
Yeah. That's good.
And sort of deviating a bit before you answer, I think I was having a conversation with a lady once about how female friendships seem to break quicker than men's. That you find men who from secondary school, uni have been in the same park for a long time, but women make friendships, they make friends quickly. And I was generalizing, of course. And she's like, it's because you guys don't go deep. Yes. That women are more able to
inclined to go deep.
This is what I'm going through, babe. Can you imagine that? They cry on the phone. So it's like they bond really deeply, and maybe.
But then why do they then? If you
exactly,
bond that
so
deeply,
I don't know what that means. But it's like we are very surface, so we are just coasting. Is I guess her point that most male friendships just coast on. Yeah, I found out. Sure, now you come here, we'll talk about us now, man. You argue, move. How often do we go deep enough to actually be sure we're actually friends? But I don't know about your... Are you a vulnerable guy with your friends?
I want to support that quickly before I answer that.
To support it?
Yes, because it just hit me.
Yeah.
So it's happened 1,000 times where you say to your guys, let's just go to the bar and have drinks, or let's sit down and play FIFA or video games, etc. Right? And then when you're done playing the game and they go home or you go home, you feel better. So all you possibly
even that
needed
is therapy
was the
almost.
time.
It was
that
just
was
that time
therapy,
spent, yeah.
right? And then
Are you better because they came or because of the drink you drank?
no, so I won't laugh about that because you may be right, but there's also the fact that we might as well have had that drink at the bar, but that space where in between playing cards, in between playing video game, you're able to have some tiny conversations and share about something, or even listen, like Banky said, to another person tell you what they went through. You're able to connect, even if you don't come out to go deep enough to say, I went through that same thing, bro. Right? You know deep within that thought, that share, that thing he said to you has sort of given you light as to what you are going through. Either it's worse or it's better, whatever the case is. So I feel like that's almost therapy in its own self. But like we've been saying, there's an amount, a huge amount for me, level of relief you feel when you speak to your fellow man and you're able to express how you feel to him. Unfortunately for us, what you said about what the lady mentioned may be key in the sense that we just float. We're just good with hanging, we're good with chilling, we're good with being men and being completely
the deepest secret is probably talk business.
Exactly. So
that's where your fangs come out.
Bro, you're not feeling so good, Abi. No problem now. I know how you feel. They broke, Abi. I know. It's not affecting the house. You forget about how it affects his home. What you concern yourself is let's do business. Let's, and then you shut him off immediately. So I'm vulnerable. I know a ton of people are going to argue with this statement I just made, but I'm quite vulnerable. But you see, it's also
I was about to argue.
As men, I've argued you. As men, we also have to be careful with how we be vulnerable and who we be vulnerable with, because unfortunately, society is still what we're trying to create an avenue with in terms of us being able to speak like this. So, whom we're vulnerable with also matters. The guy in the circle it was why I asked what I asked in your circle. You have to select, and that's why I'm certain Ebuka wanted to let you know that he had an opinion before you answered, because he already understands the kind of person Banky is. Yeah. And then he knows that this is one guy that I have been vulnerable with. He's been vulnerable with me. In the group, he may be the guy who I can possibly at some point give to, right? And expect some. I may be wrong, but that's what I got from that. So for me, it's also the main character in terms of friendships, because I don't think I think these friendships are silos, because even in your group, there are 2 or 3 that move around more than the other 4 or the other 6. Yeah. So
we know them.
Yeah. So based on all that, you would obviously on a need to know basis say, I would rather speak to Banky than speak to Tunde. Not because I don't think Tunde is great, but because I believe Banky would sort of assimilate what I want to share. So that's what I would say. Yeah. I intend to be vulnerable, but I take my time to select who I want to be vulnerable with or to. Because if I mistakenly go talk to one of my guys that his response is quite aloof, I'm possibly going to do what men would do on a standard. I'll shut down.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
Let me not go there.
You don't want
to go there.
Please, can you
go there, please?
In bits.
Let's talk about bro codes. I think what I just wanted to say is I think in our friend group, I think we're vulnerable to a small extent. But I understand what you mean by it's not all the time you're vulnerable to the entire group. Sometimes it's, and I believe that I think it's a way that I've sort of safeguarded my friendships. I have different expectations of my friends. Yeah. I always have this conversation with my wife, and she kind of, I don't know what is struggles with it, because my wife is extremely loyal in her friendships. Like those kind of people that you are not in the table, but you know that if my name comes up on that table, I'm secure. So that's how she is with her friends. So she expects that same level of 100 over 100. If it's 92, so, but I always tell her, I have friends. I know the one I'm going to call if I'm stuck on Thornton at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I might be closer to one other one, but I know that he's not going to pick up the phone. But it's not because he doesn't want to, he's just not going to pick up his call.
Right.
Sometimes I'm that guy. Like people say, just because I'm terrible with phones. So you have to know who's great at what and then have those expectations from them. And I think that sort of guides your friendships as a man. Or as a human being even. Ultimately though, what you expect, regardless of the expectations you have about these people, is a level of trust, a level of loyalty that makes you know that it's a safe space, regardless of what the expectations are. Generally, it's a safe space. And I think that's, I guess, what the ultimate code should be, regardless of what the
I
expectations
want to ask you guys a question about making friends or keeping friends based on your past versus making friends based on your future. What I mean by that is there are some people who your friend circle has been the same. So Tunde and I, we've been friends since we were 12, 13 years old, right? That's a long time. There are some people who feel obligated, I don't know if that's the word,
to stay friends.
to stay friends with
Just because of how long it's
been, to hold on to those friendships. There are some people that say, if I've outgrown
this space
or outgrown, our values are different, or, maybe I want to be out clubbing and I want to be in church or whatever, or I'm married and you're single and we can't really have the same conversation for whatever, a litany of reasons. There's some people who feel like, let me make friends based on where I'm going, not based on where I've been. So I want to know if you guys have had those kinds of situations present themselves and how you navigate it.
Every day. You have, and I'm still going to go back to where Ebuka said, you have people who you can read. You can tell that this is what this person wants. This relationship this person wants is for something superficial or for something for network gain or, stuff that don't really run deep. So out of every 3 or 4 guys that come your way, you can maybe find an authentic one who wants to genuinely be a friend or a partner or, a business partner, whatever it is, moving forward, right? And so it's left for you to take the risk of saying, look, I there's no pressure. You see this friendship matter, there's no pressure. It's because for me, friendship has only 2 things, two major pointers, and that's requirements and expectation. So with their friends, you have requirements towards you. You're required to check on me if you don't hear from me in 48 hours. It's a requirement. What am I expecting from you? I'm expecting that, you have to bring me a cup of coffee when you buy another cup of coffee. For me, buy a cup of coffee for yourself when we have a meeting. No, that's an expectation. That's me putting too much pressure on our friendship. So all of that decides or determines how you as a man relate with your fellow friend, whether you guys are coming from the past or going into the future, right? So for me, it's all in your hands. Now your choice. It's how you want to go.
I don't think I've made a new friend in a while. I don't think I've made a new friend in a while. I meet people. I have a lot of colleagues. There are people I know that, this is a nice person.
Yeah.
It would be nice to connect on a few levels or situations. But I find that as I've gotten older, it's become harder for me to make friends. Because I'm generally very guarded to even start with. So getting someone into that space now, I've tried, interestingly, a few times, but I just realized, we're good for what we are good for. I don't think we need to be in each other's spaces. So I think that's where I am now. I don't know that it's easy anymore for me to start friendships. Do I feel obligated to old friendships? Not really. But I don't know that I have a hard rule that says, we're just hanging on each other, so we might as well. You kind of know. Sometimes it's distance. Like I've moved cities, for example. I had a lot of my childhood friends in Abuja and Benin. I live in Lagos now. So naturally dynamics are going to change because you are not hanging out every day as you used to. There's only so much you can do via WhatsApp or whatever. So that when you realize that the season is starting to look a little different, but I'm also not going to hang on to it just because we have a history. I mean, if we're deep enough in the past, we'll still have that depth when we have conversations. But the fact is things have withered a bit. So you might not know all of me anymore.
Mhm.
And I probably won't know all of you anymore. And it's only natural that's the case. I'm the kind of person who my friendships come with proximity, that we're in touch. That is kind of where I think a lot of my friendships lie.
Yeah.
I guess. I did it.
Okay.
I did my polls. And I was just basically asking how hard is it for you to make new friends these days? And the majority was actually saying it's pretty hard.
It's extremely difficult. It's been interesting for me.
Which is interesting because social media is supposed to be bringing us together. Why are we not making friends?
It's the biggest lie. We're more connected than ever, but we're more isolated than ever because it's this very surface level
trolling and banter.
We share it's bands, it's memes, it's occasional touch point or leaving a comment to hype somebody or whatever.
And then that's it.
And that's it.
Superficial.
I think it's been interesting for me because depending on who meets me, if you've met me anytime in the last 15, 20 years, you've met me in a very different space. So there's some people who knew me only as a musician, some people only as a filmmaker, some people only as a pastor, some people only as a businessman, some people only as a politician or in that leadership kind of space. And I think that in making those decisions, like, kind of being hyper focused on my spiritual journey, the political journey, those decisions that I've made personally have kind of thrown me into seasons where I don't see my friends group as often as I used to in certain times of my life. And those seasons can be extremely lonely because you don't, like you say, it's proximity, right? So I sometimes wondered if Tunde and I were not in business together all of this time, would we still be as tight? I'm thankful that we've been in business together. Yeah. So it's given us, regardless of what's happening, we have the same office, we still have business here, we touch base. But God forbid if that wasn't the case, would our friendship have lasted 30 years? I don't know. And it's not because we don't love each other or want to hold each other down. It's just that life can sometimes throw you into certain spaces and seasons where you're not seeing each other as much as you used to. And for men who find it extremely hard to make friends, which I know is hard for me, and as you said, it's hard for you, it's probably hard for everybody.
It's hard for me too.
Okay.
To make new friends.
So, 100%. So then you end up in these seasons where you really feel like you are by yourself. And I don't want to project on everybody, but I'm speaking from the lens of my own experience where when I was making these decisions and going on these trajectories, I wasn't seeing my guys as often as I used to. I just wasn't
looking at me and saying it's like.
And so, but even in the
talk to me with your full check.
Even in the spaces that I've gone into, I'm also very guarded. So, I might be serving in church, but I didn't really spend the last 10 years here. So even in church, I'm kind of out of place. Or even in politics, I'm definitely out of place. Like I'll be nice to everybody, everybody's nice to me, but it's hard for you to now say, how do I get new friends in this space, new people that are brothers that I can depend on? And I'm probably one of the more fortunate ones because I still have my friend group. And I've been able to pick one or two people over the years who have now crossed into that space. But it's interesting. Yeah. I think it's interesting for guys because we really do struggle with having real friendships. Yeah. Whereas we can be cool with a million people. It's so funny. My wife and I are very different, and I'll end on this. So she's the introvert, I'm the extrovert. But I realized over time that she goes deeper. And I'm cool with a million people, but it's very surface level. So we can enter somewhere. I will say hi to everybody in the place, from the security man to the secretary to we're in the gym. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey, how now? How's everything? How's madam? And I'm just going through my wife may get somewhere and not speak to anybody, but the one person who she's met there, who she's connected with, they can stand together and have a 15-minute conversation and they know details about each other. And so she'll go much deeper with that person. Whereas I will have a much broader net of acquaintances, but very few people that I can actually have deep connections with.
I think we should kind of wrap up on that, because I want to wrap up with a question now about this whole talk of friendships and just being vulnerable and why it is important. Because a lot of the perception is that men don't need vulnerability is weakness. Then go see you finish, whether it's your friends or not. Why are you being so soft around them? You're supposed to be able to handle shit yourself, if you know what I mean. So why is it even necessary? Why is it important? A lot of men will tell you they've succeeded in life without needing to cry to anybody. I want to cry in my pillow and move on the next day. Why should they act differently, if at all? You've turned it from questionnaire to answer. But let's just wrap up on that.
For me, why is it even a gender conversation? When we are human, that's the first thing. So we have hearts, we have emotions, it boils down to one simple thing: cognitive behavioral patterns. So how you behave will differ from how the other man behaves, but the one thing that we have is emotion. That's the one thing you can take away from anybody, whether it's anger, whether it is love, or whatever it is. So I think that there shouldn't be any pressure for any man to want to decide how or with whom he can be vulnerable with. What I can only ask for is, obviously we can't go back. So moving forward, what I can ask for is that not just the women, but other men should sort of begin to see men as emotional beings. What I mean by that is see them, accept them in their vulnerability, even in their strength, right? Because there are things that happen to men a lot. What you just asked now borders on loneliness. You have a ton of men who, because they're not able to be vulnerable, they end up being lonely, even in relationships, even in marriages. So all of that will not help the man unless there are conducive environments set up within women, within men, within clusters, within siblings, within families, within parents, where they accept these men and there are certain levels of vulnerability, so they're able to speak more and be themselves.
Anything to add?
So the question is, why do we need friendships? Is that
why should we be vulnerable?
We be vulnerable?
Yeah.
Speaking from the lens of my own experience, I have found in my life that I will not survive the storms of life without my relationship with God and without my relationship with people. And so it's become a life lesson for me that I have to consistently work on that relationship with God, because that's the rock on which my life is built, but also that you need people. And so sometimes when I intentionally choose a moment to be vulnerable with you guys, it's because I'm trying to draw you in, to use the moment to draw you into my world, to say, hey, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm going through. And I want to lean on that connection that we have to be able to pull through those moments, knowing that you have people that genuinely love you and genuinely care about you and genuinely want what's best for you. And you can trust them. You can trust that news with them. So it's a way of, it's a journey of trust and a journey of intentionally trying to depend on the people that you need to depend on, because nobody's strong enough to survive life and all of these pressures that we discuss on this show. Nobody's strong enough to do that by themselves, no matter how much we tell ourselves. So for me, I think it's a way of me trying to do that, but also it's a way of me trying to hold the space to let you know that I still consider you important enough to share this. And I hope that in doing that, you consider me important enough that when you are going through something, you know that you have a brother that you can share this kind of thing with, and I will stand with you, I'll pray with you, I'll cover you the same way that I hope that you would do for me.
Yeah. Just to wrap it up on that, because I wanted to wrap up on that because of the shirt I'm wearing, and it's sarcastic.
Please let them know.
Men are supposed to, we're mandated to neglect our emotions as men. And it's almost like that's what it should be. I don't know that like I said, I don't know that I'm that way because I'm a man. I don't know if mine is nurture or nature. But I'm actively trying to be better. And like you said, I found that a few times when I've done that, you feel just a little lighter, if nothing else. Even if you don't necessarily get the answers or the best advice in the world, it's just a little, okay, yeah. And like you said, sometimes you find out, oh, it's not just me.
Yeah.
So it's not that crazy a situation that you're in, because a lot of people are going through what you're going through. So yeah, let's just start disabusing our minds to that, especially as African men, which is hopefully people that are watching. Yes.
Can I just say this one thing? As African men, let's normalize telling your brothers that you love them.
Yeah, we do that.
Like let's not. Yeah, we do that.
We do.
You know, like
love you, bro.
Love you, bro. You know, like that should be. It's funny. I've seen some videos on social media where they're like, call your friend and tell him that you love him.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that in most of those videos, a lot of times it's a surprise.
Yeah.
But it's reciprocated.
Yeah.
So we actually do love each other, and we know that, but we're just not used to expressing it. So let's normalize that. Like it's.
So if you call any of your friends down and tell them you love them, are they okay with that? Would they be
I tell my friends I love them.
I think they will be okay with it, but it will also be like, okay, I love you.
Are you okay?
If you start off with, hello, I love you. I love you too, but what's your more? But at the end of conversations, that's very normal. And I think it doesn't make you any less a man that you are. But if you disagree or agree, let us know in the comments. And if you have any other thoughts on this conversation on friendship, vulnerability, and, men emotionally neglecting themselves, please share with us in the comments and share with your friends as well. And we'll see you next time. Merci.
We cheers it?
We always cheers, man.
Cheers.
Wait, so if you have bad luck this time.
No, I never have bad luck. In Jesus' name.
You've been tuned in to Mentality with me, Ebuka, and my co-host, Banky W. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please make sure to rate, review, and follow Mentality with Ebuka wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and catch you next time.